Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Tuesdays, the parties will appear again before Judge Emmett Sullivan, a jurist unafraid of the swamp.
The interesting thing about this judge, Judge Sullivan,
Who has a track record of calling out prosecutorial misconduct.
he was so angry at the abuse of power back then in the Ted Stevens case.
A man who does not tolerate injustice.
He ordered a special investigation into the investigators. He was so pissed off.
Ted Stevens is a perfect example of why Judge Sullivan is so important.
Why are you charging this guy with something he didn't do?
Emmett Sullivan has a reputation for wanting to know that the government has done everything by the book.
That's something that I hope Judge Emmett Sullivan on Tuesday at the sentencing poses to the Mueller team of partisans.
The question is, should they be rewarded for breaking the rule, or should Judge Sullivan impose a consequence on them?
Sullivan said, I'll decide what's exculpatory. Give me all of it.
If he finds that they falsified evidence, he can throw out the guilty plea
Can throw out this guilty plea.
and set him free.
I think it's going to be fascinating with Judge Sullivan and what he's going to do at the first part of the week here.
Sweet Jesus.
That was Fox News, and all week, and I did not know that because I stopped watching it. I can't watch it. I can't stand it. The only thing that's good about Fox News is like Janine Pirro's surgical work, and the lip liner is fabulous. Clothes are good too, but that's about it. You know, I mean, it is one vowel movement away from what it does to the news. Fox, just use your imagination, and you know, like all their conspiracies, they fall apart. It's like Jell-O. They always have room for a new conspiracy at Fox News. Like Jell-O, it always falls apart when you take it out of the mold and you put it out in the real world. I mean, this is just so unbelievable. I had no idea that they were doing this. Did you know that? Did anybody know that? I mean, I didn't know that they were rooting for this Judge Emmett Sullivan to send a message to the Justice Department that, you people are out of control and let Flynn go and let Flynn go. Oh, wow. Oh, were they disappointed yesterday when, we couldn't use the I word for a really long time, right? You can't use the I word, Maxine. Can't use the I word. Now we're using the T word. I'm not using the T word. The T word is out there, and it came out of the mouth of a judge in a courtroom sentencing for our former National Security Advisor. Let that sink in. Our former National Security Advisor. And the T word comes out in his sentencing hearing. And the judge was so angry. You see, the reason why, the Judge Sullivan, just for background, he's a Reagan appointee. He's like one of the longest serving federal court judges. He was appointed by Reagan. He was promoted by H.W. And then he was made a federal court judge by Bill Clinton. And he has a very, very, very high standard for the government. That's why he's so hard on prosecutors. So you would think a little deduction over at Fox News would tell them that he's not going to suffer the National Security Advisor of the United States of America lying to the FBI. I don't know why they couldn't put two and two together, because it's Fox and they didn't want. But I mean, if this guy likes high standards, oh my God, he's going to hate everything and anyone associated with the Trump administration, to put it in terms that Fox News viewers should understand. But I did not know that they were doing all this. And apparently Dershowitz was doing it, and Joe DeGenevo was doing it. I mean, these are the
He did not lie, and in fact,
he
the
did not
FBI
lie.
knew it.
Wait,
Let's remember
what? This is Joe DeGenova and his wife, Victoria Tenzin, who went after Bill Clinton with a vengeance because Bill Clinton was, parsing words like it depends on what the meaning of the word is. If you're asking me, did I have sex with her? It means, like, what do you think sex is? What is the definition of the word? And they were livid. This had nothing to do with the national security of the United States of America. This here issue does, and these are the same people. Listen to this.
He did not lie, and in fact, the FBI knew it. Let's remember what this is about. This was a pretextual crime created by the FBI and by Sally Yates, the acting attorney general. Remember, after the election, Hillary Clinton needed a reason why she lost.
She did.
Enter Russian collusion. Part of that was to find somebody in the administration to frame for talking to the Russians. They found General Flynn. But in fact, all of General Flynn's conversations with the Russian ambassador and everybody else were legal. So why did the FBI approach him? They knew what he said. They knew it was legal. The answer is they wanted to frame him, and they succeeded. And he did not tell them false information. Some of it may have been paused. It may have been nuanced. He did not lie. And indeed, the agents who actual 302s are available said he didn't lie.
No,
and
they
it's
didn't
interesting
say that
Mueller did not turn over the original 302s to Judge Sullivan today. He turned over an interview of Agent Strzok, which was done months later by Mueller's people. The answer is Michael Flynn was framed in order to get at Donald Trump. Sally Yates, James Comey, Peter Strzok, Andy McCabe all planned it. What you are watching play out in an American courtroom is one of the most disgraceful events in American criminal justice, and everybody on Mueller's team should be ashamed of themselves, and none of them should ever be allowed to go back into the Department of Justice.
Well, yesterday in the courtroom, Judge Sullivan asked Michael Flynn if he'd like to withdraw his guilty plea, and he said no. And he said, well, do you feel like you were duped? Do you feel that you were entrapped? Did you feel that they were that you did not know that lying to the FBI was a crime? And he said no. In fact, his lawyers were groveling in front of Judge Sullivan yesterday, saying, please, Your Honor, do not punish the defendant for our really bad judgment in writing a leniency brief to you where we said that we, maybe he was entrapped and, we didn't really. And check my Twitter feed. Check my Twitter feed, because a week ago when this filing about leniency for Flynn was filed, I don't even know if it was it was last week, when the leniency filing was made, and I read it. I literally tweeted to Flynn's lawyer, and I said, it's quite an arrogant defense. I hope Judge Sullivan gives him time. Because you could see right through it. You could see that they were trying to have the best of both worlds. He was saying, I was duped, and, so I pled guilty, and now I want a pardon from the president, and, I don't want any jail time. What? I mean, it's just, and the lawyers yesterday, they were groveling, saying, please, don't blame don't blame the defendant for what we concocted. Don't. And, Sullivan was so pissed that he was like, he was thundering. I mean, this is what we don't get because we don't have cameras in the courtroom, which is just a mistake. It's a mistake. So we can't hear the tone and tenor of, but we have to work off of the reporting that we get. And the reporting is that the judge was thundering at Flynn and saying, your crimes were disgusting. And I'm not going to hide my disgust for your crimes. So, Mr. Flynn, you think you were entrapped? You know what entrapment means? I wonder how many people understand what entrapment means. Entrapment is, if the government approaches me and I'm doing an illegal thing, and the government then talks me into doing the illegal thing by posing as not a government agent or not a government enforcer of the law, and I do that illegal thing in front of them at their enticement or at their behest, or because they've posed themselves in some dishonest way to make me think that I could do that. If So what this means is, what entrapment means is Flynn is saying that the government told him to lie. And that did not happen. Therefore, it is not entrapment. It's so ridiculous. And when you look at the crimes that Flynn committed, I mean, texting at the inaugural, sanctions are going to come off, and building a nuclear thing in Saudi Arabia with the Russians, and advocating for the kidnapping of a Turkish green card holder in the United States, trying to get him extradited, and he hadn't done anything, and then planning a kidnapping, instead. And then, I mean, this is how could people continue to support this man? I just don't even understand. And yet, Dershowitz, listen to this.
I mean, the obvious point that everybody should understand is that the FBI didn't ask him these questions to learn the truth, because they knew the truth. They knew the truth. They weren't trying to obtain more information. They were simply giving him an opportunity to lie. Now, he could have.
No, they were giving him an opportunity to tell the truth. And he clearly decided not to. But in Alan Dershowitz's world, they were giving him an opportunity to lie. Oh, my God. What made them think he would lie? Of course they had the information. Kislyak was under surveillance. That just goes to show you that Michael Flynn is a moron. A moron. And when confronted with his own words that they had written down from these intercepted conversations, he chose to lie. They went there to give him an opportunity to tell the truth.
Learn the truth, because they knew the truth.
Of course.
They knew the truth. They weren't trying to obtain more information. They were simply giving him an opportunity to lie.
To tell the truth.
Told the truth, obviously, if he remembered, but he didn't.
He didn't remember.
But the idea is that I don't think in America we want to empower the FBI or grand juries or prosecutors to impose morality tests, criminal morality tests on citizens. Give them opportunities to lie, opportunities to tell the truth, test them. And as Judge Sullivan implied, and as Judge Ellis said very clearly, the goal here was not to get Flynn, obviously. He's just a means to the end. Their goal was to find some low-hanging fruit, figure out a way of getting him to lie to the FBI so that they could squeeze him then either to sing or to compose.
Oh, my God. They have intercepted phone calls with the now sitting National Security Advisor of the United States between the National Security Advisor and the Russians and Turkish and Saudis. And Michael Flynn doesn't recall conversations. He lied. He said, I couldn't have talked to Kislyak about sanctions because on December 29th, when Obama put the sanctions in place and deported 35 Russian spies for meddling in the U.S. elections, I was in the Dominican Republic and I didn't have access to my government BlueBerry. That's what he told them. That's what he lied about. He also lied about payments that his company, the Flynn Intel Group, received in order to plan a kidnapping of a green card holder in the United States. Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.